Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive into Law Days and Lattes. Hello, and welcome back to Law Days and Lattes, where we serve up legal talk with a shot of espresso and a sprinkle of real-life know-how. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, an attorney and owner of the Wheelan Law Firm here in Moberly, Missouri. And today, we're diving into a topic that comes up all the time when I sit down with clients. The question, what's the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable trust? And how do you know which one is right for your family? Whether you're planning your legacy, protecting a business, or just trying to avoid probate, understanding this difference is a must. So grab your favorite latte and let's break it down. What's a trust anyway? Let's start at the top. A trust is a legal arrangement that lets one person, the trustee, hold and manage assets on behalf of another, the beneficiary. It's like putting your stuff in a legal container that comes with rules about how and when it's used. The two most common types of trust we work with in estate planning are revocable trust and irrevocable trust. They sound similar, but they serve very different purposes. A revocable trust, sometimes called a living trust, is the most common starting point for estate planning. Here's what makes it great. First, you stay in control. You can be the trustee and the beneficiary while you're alive. It's flexible. You can change or cancel it at any time. It's private. It never has to be filed or recorded anywhere. I like to say it is no one's business what assets are in your trust or who your beneficiaries are, unless you tell them. And, maybe most important, it avoids probate. Assets in the trust pass directly to your heirs. No court delays and only minimal expense. But here's what the revocable trust doesn't do. It doesn't protect assets from creditors or lawsuits. It won't reduce estate taxes for high net worth families, and it's still part of your estate for Medicaid eligibility or nursing home planning. So, if you're looking for control and simplicity, a revocable trust, sometimes called a revocable trust, is often the way to go and is appropriate for most of my clients. But what if you need stronger protection? The irrevocable trust is the fortress if it's used properly. An irrevocable trust is exactly what it sounds like. It can't be changed or revoked once it's set up, at least not easily. You give up ownership of the assets in the irrevocable trust, and in exchange, you get some serious legal benefits. Here's the upside. With an irrevocable trust, you get asset protection for sure. Creditors, yours or your beneficiary's creditors, can't get to what's in the trust. You get tax benefits. For some families, it can reduce estate taxes. It's good for Medicaid planning. Assets may be shielded from nursing home spend down if you plan early enough. And certain specific types of irrevocable trust are incredibly valuable planning devices for people under the age of 65 who are disabled, whether the disability arose at their birth or at a later age. This type of irrevocable trust might be useful for a disabled person who has inherited money from a deceased relative, or a disabled person who receives a personal injury settlement as a result of his or her injuries. But here's the downside to irrevocable trusts. The first is the 5-year look-back period. This can be a big risk for some of my clients. Remember, in Missouri, if the purpose of the trust is to protect assets from the expenses of nursing home care, there is a 5-year look-back period for Medicaid planning. If you need nursing home care within that 5-year period, you could be disqualified for Medicaid benefits if you have transferred your assets into an irrevocable trust within that 5-year period. Other downsides of the irrevocable trust: you lose control. The assets no longer belong to you. Another downside is that changes are difficult or impossible to make without court involvement. And the irrevocable trust is more complex and usually more expensive to set up. Think of it like locking your money in a vault and handing the key to someone else with very specific instructions. So, which one should you choose? Revocable or irrevocable? The answer depends on your goals. Choose a revocable trust if you want to stay in control of your assets, need to avoid probate, and you want a simple and flexible estate plan. Choose an irrevocable trust if you need to protect assets from creditors or lawsuits, if you are planning for long-term care or Medicaid eligibility, or if you have a high-value estate and want to reduce tax exposure. And here's the key takeaway. Trusts aren't one size fits all. Your estate plan should reflect your life, your family, and your future goals. So here is a pro tip before we wrap up. You don't have to pick just one. Many estate plans use both revocable and irrevocable trusts strategically to get the best of both worlds. If you're not sure where to start, contact me or one of our team members at wheelanlaw.com. We can help you match your plan to your life, not the other way around. So that's it for today's episode of Law Days and Lattes. If you found this helpful, share it with friends on social media. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so that you don't miss a single episode of Law Days and Lattes. Want to learn more about protecting your family's future? Head to our show notes and download our free guide, The Financially Fearless Family Checklist. Until next time, my friends, keep your coffee strong and your legal plan even stronger. Have a great week.
This podcast episode contains general information for discussion purposes only. Each case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Missouri rules generally prohibit lawyers from advertising that they specialize in particular areas of the law. This show should not be construed to suggest such specialization. Nothing on this show should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship, and the listening or viewing of this podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.